Hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, PrecisionHydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalise your hydration strategy today at PrecisionHydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict.
We're also brought to you by Foodsell.co.uk.
The next generation of top tube nutritional carriers for your bike, designed to allow endurance triathletes and cyclists to carry enough food and gels while allowing easy access. Use the code FREEPOST for free delivery worldwide. Check it out at foodsell.co.uk.
And we're also brought to you by Tribe Natural Sports Nutrition.
Delivered direct to you, try a trial pack of 6 delicious energy bars, protein bars and protein shakes for just £1, including postage and packaging. Head to wearetribe.co/oxygenaddict and use the code TRIBEOxygenaddict.
And hello everybody and welcome back to the show. It's a beautiful spring day here as we're recording in early April. Hells, how are you, my friend?
I am fine. We did have some birds singing for a bit of company early on, didn't we? But we've
we had to
gone
stop.
into more studio mode, so the birds have disappeared for the time being.
Hells was recording with the back door open for a while, and unfortunately the tweeting birds, whilst beautiful, were a little distracting to the sound quality, weren't they?
A little bit, yeah. But I'm good, Rob. I'm enjoying this kind of spring weather, and
Lovely.
I've even been out on my bike.
I was going to say, have you been out and got some movement in the sun? Done what have you been up to?
Did about an hour and 20 minutes on my bike the other weekend. It's first ride outside in quite a while.
Very nice.
It was delightful. And then a fair bit of running. And a bit of Nordic walking. So all good.
Jolly good.
Did a 10K at the weekend.
How'd that go?
I've had better, Rob. Just say that.
The finish line was a welcome sight, was it?
Finish line was a very, very welcome sight. It was the Whitchurch 10K. In Shropshire. Okay. I've been through Whitchurch many times. This time it seemed particularly lumpy.
It's funny, isn't it, how when you're not in perfect shape, the hills seem even hillier.
Oh my God, yeah. They do seem like beastly hills. So, but a really, really well organised race. So that was good fun. It was 7K. I was like, I just want the finish line. And then, Rob, seriously, what is it with post-race T-shirts? And like, it's bright orange, which I think is fine if you're running in the winter, but typically it's like and this is not just Whitchurch 10K. There's been many races. The female T-shirts, well, there aren't any, and it's just like a male small, and it's like it's still massive. It's so silly.
Not feeling the love for the race day T-shirt, huh?
No. Some you get and they're fine, and then others you're just like, oh, really? This is silly. Like, it would be better to, like, I'm not going to wear it.
Come on, Hells. Positive hat on. It's a sunny day. It's all good. You got a free T-shirt.
Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. But some, though, are just like, when are you going to wear it?
Yeah, I hear you.
When are you going to wear it, or what are you going to do with it? And that is not the only one. There was another place recently which did like bright yellow, and you're like, okay, great. But there's only so many like luminous T-shirts which are too big for you that you can't really do a whole load with.
Hey, well, do you know what? Talking of a luminous yellow, that brings us to our interview of the week this week, who races in an luminous yellow and blue tri-suit.
But it fits her.
It does fit her, that's true. We have an interview with you later on with Simone Mitchell, the winner of and course record breaker of the full Outlaw Iron Distance Triathlon last year. Really good interview with her, Hells, actually. She was really good fun. Loads of interesting chat from her. So anyone who's racing the Outlaw later on this year, happy days. You can get some good tips, and also really good of her. She took about 10 minutes at the end of the interview to answer listeners' questions as well. So if you sent a listener's question in via the Facebook group, then listen out. You might have had your question answered. So we've got some news, we've got some results, we've got the interview. It's generally going to be a good day on the podcast, and it's good to be back. We had a week off last week from usual recording, didn't we, while I was away on holiday? And we've had a bit of feedback from people to say that they weren't particularly impressed by the way we had to edit in our little sponsor segment. So hands up, we gave that a go, didn't we, while we were away, and thought we'd try something new, because obviously we're in a bit of a challenge, really, in that we've got some really great sponsors who are providing the money to run the podcast, and we want to get those little adverts in for them. But having listened back to it, I don't think the flow of it was particularly great, was it? And it interrupted the flow of the interview. So if it busted up that interview for you, we do apologise, but we've got to help support the people who help support the show as well. So thanks for the people who've sent us emails and comments and stuff in Facebook and Twitter. Duly noted. It'll only be once or twice a year when one of us is away on holiday, so hopefully you could roll with that. So should we roll into there's some good racing this weekend, Hals? Let's roll into the results section, shall we?
Yeah. It's been a busy weekend of racing.
It sure has. So we'll kick that off with a big thank you, speaking of sponsors, to our long-time sponsors, precisionhydration.com. If you've not been over and taken their online sweat test yet, you can do that at precisionhydration.com. They've got electrolyte salts in different strengths to match how you sweat. And I've got to tell you, Hels, having just been in the heat of Fuerteventura last week, I was pleased to have my pH tablets stashed in my wash bag, because I was approaching the end of a surfing day and thought I'd just catch that one last wave of the day, paddled, and as I went to get up, my right calf locked up. You know the way they do, where it just locks completely solid. I was floating around in the water, yelping and screaming, and the instructor's going, "Are you okay over there?" And I'm going, "No, can't get out of the water." And he's like, "Oh, just stretch your toes." You know, when you can't reach the floor of the swimming pool and your calf's gone completely solid.
I've never had that.
It was a real calf locker, this one. So I had to limp myself back to the shore, and that night guzzled down about 4 of those tablets, I think, from my bag. So that took the problem away, and I didn't suffer again for the rest of the holiday. So if you, like me, are a sufferer with cramp, then these salts can be the difference between nearly drowning in the surf in Coraleo and being perfectly fine to go for a run the next day. So you can check them out over at precisionhydration.com, and remember, you can get a free box or tube to try just using the code Oxygenaddict. That gives you £9.99 worth at the checkout. All right, kicking off results then. First up, it was Ironman South Africa this weekend, and some great news for the Brits over there, wasn't it, Hels?
Yes, because it was another win, second year on the trot for Lucy Charles-Barkley, who had a really good race. Though she did say, Rob, that she did not feel great when she came out the water, which was they reduced the length of the swim.
Yeah, it looked super rough, didn't it?
Yeah. I think the winds had picked up, and she said she still felt pretty rubbish during the bike as well. And then she thought she'd just give it a go on the run and stick with it. And she came away with the win, 8 hours and 35 minutes, just ahead of Gurutze Fradas of Spain, who she was smashing out the run, Rob. She did like a 2:52, I think. But Lucy, actually, I should have said, went under 3 hours for the first time off the bike.
Yeah, I was going to say she did really well, didn't she? Considering she felt her bike legs weren't there. I think I'm right in saying that's the first time she's been under 3 hours in an Ironman, isn't it? So it's more consistent progress for her. And I think that's significant, because now that she's under that barrier, she's just got to keep chopping away 3 or 4 minutes each time. And who knows, by the time they get to Kona in October, maybe that's a low 250s marathon. And all of a sudden, that's looking very, very competitive for the win, isn't it?
Yeah, she said, she did say that, now, I think I'm right in saying that she said before she's going to be doing Roth. But basically for her now, South Africa was obviously sealing her Kona spot, and so Kona really is, the big goal now. So it's quite nice to have got that qualification sorted at this stage of the season.
Yeah, stamped a ticket.
Yeah.
And again, I think that sub 3 hour marathon bodes really well, especially on a day when it looks like she was feeling horrible. So yeah, so that's the ladies' race dealt with. Over on the men's side, I think Matty Troutman was first out the water, wasn't he? And again, to bring it back to Lucy, I think she was only 15 seconds, I heard, behind his time in the water. So again,
Josh Amberger, I think it was.
Oh, was it Josh Amberger was first out the water? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And then what happened out on the bike, Hells?
So, it was out on the bike. Niels Fromhold was going for it. There were, and then I think Dave McNamee had a real bad day on the bike.
Yeah, I saw that. He was way down, wasn't he? Was he 15 minutes down or something off the bike? Did I read? 28 minutes down on Hoffman off the bike. Yeah. Wow.
Yep. So he sort of said afterwards that, some days you just have a really bad race, but he still did a 2:42 marathon. And again, he got his Kona validation. So,
yeah,
it might not have been what he went for, but job's done in terms of that side of things.
Yeah.
Finished
that's
11th.
That's an amazing marathon to close with, isn't it? Having had to grind through the bike in half an hour slower than you think you were going to do for an athlete of his caliber, but then to bring out a 2:42 on the run, that's really impressive.
Yeah. So Ben Hoffman of the US took the win in 7:34, and Rob, he was absolutely flying again on the run. It was really impressive watching him go, and he had a really rubbish year last year, didn't he?
Yeah,
so
he did,
for him,
didn't he?
Yeah. So to be able to come back and win again in South Africa, I think meant so much to him. And then Niels Fromhold of Germany was second, just ahead of Michael Weiss of Austria.
Cool stuff. All right, we also had some racing down in Texas at the Texas 70.3, where it looks like they had hideous storms come through during the race and actually stopped the race for a lot of the age groupers, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. The pros, obviously being a lot quicker, managed to finish, but a lot of the age groupers were unable to complete the race, which is just so frustrating, isn't it? But when Mother Nature, when Mother Nature's going to kick up a storm, it's you don't want to be out in that, do you?
No, looks like it was hideous. So we had wins there for Jenny Seymour from South Africa, who took it out in 4:01, and Andy Starkovitz took it out on the men's side in 3:43 with a 1:56 bike lag as well. So again, another stormingly fast ride from him.
Yeah. Another name, Rob, from that race that we should mention. Sixth place went to Frankie Sanjana, who. That's a really good result for her. So she finished behind Meredith Kessler, but in front of Lindsay Corbin.
Good stuff.
Bodes well, I think.
Yeah, it definitely does. And then another big race that was going on this weekend was the 70.3 Oceanside over in California. It had been hyped as another head-to-head between Jan Frodeno and our friend Lionel Sanders, but unfortunately both of them didn't start for one reason or another related to injuries and niggles in the run-up. So it left the men's field pretty much wide open at that point, didn't it?
Yeah, and it was Ben Canute who came away with the win, just ahead of Rudy von Berg, and then Adam Bowden of Great Britain was third in 3:53.
Yeah.
He basically ran his way onto that, or into that third place spot. Rob, I thought he did a 1:11 actually.
I read that somewhere as well. It says 1:13 in the results, doesn't it? But it said he ran a 1:11 somewhere.
Yeah, I'm going with a 1:11.
Yeah, let's go with that.
But again, another brilliant run from him to get onto that podium. So I think he's definitely a name to be following this year for sure.
Yeah, you said it. Over on the women's side, it was undeniably the Daniela Reef show again, wasn't it? I don't think anyone expected it to be anything other than that. There was a lot of interest in the showdown with Holly Lawrence, but Daniela Reef's bike was just so much stronger than everybody else's. She rode 2:17, and to put that in context, I think we worked out with a 2 or 3 male pros who went faster than that. So she was 7.5 minutes clear of the next fastest woman on the bike, and pretty much that was it, game over, wasn't it, for Holly Lawrence and everybody else at the end of the bike leg?
Yeah. And Holly Lawrence, again, she said afterwards that you know, and I genuinely, I don't think she was even sort of saying, "Oh, I had a bad race." I think she was. Don't think it was excuses. She said, "I felt bad." She said, "You know, I was putting out like training watts, so sort of 210, 220 watts," and she said usually she'd be more like 250. And so she was like, "I really, really wanted to just pull the plugs, pull the pin." but I'm glad that I didn't. And she said, I may have had a crappy race myself, but I won the mental battle. And I think, Rob, that is when you do have a really naff race, if you can take some mental strength from getting to the end or battling on through and finishing it, I do think that you can then look back on it and know that mentally, okay, you might have had a rough time, but actually mentally, that's going to make you stronger.
It's interesting as well that in the results it says that Holly Lawrence's race this year was actually 2 minutes faster than her race last year. So she's had a better race than she had last year. Even I wonder how much of it comes down to the effect of doing the whole race, knowing that someone else is further up the road from you, and obviously you want to be racing them, but you're not there, as it were.
Couldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it must be hard if you turn up and you're hoping to compete and someone like Daniela Reef just motors 7 minutes into you on the bike. It must be pretty demoralising, mustn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, Holly Lawrence was second with 4:14, and then Ellie Salthouse got third in 4:16.
Cool stuff. All right, we're going to jump into Coach's Couch. We've got a question this week from Jamie Freeland that came through on the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Community Facebook page.
Yeah, and James says, "Hey Rob, I wonder if anyone else might benefit from the advice about managing illness like a cold or a flu in the run-up to an event." He says, "I stupidly took the ignore and carry on route, doing a swim CSS test, a cold night run, and then a sweaty turbo session when I knew there was a chance a cold was coming on. I've now been laid up in bed with a fever for 3 days. So probably an example of what not to do."
Bless him.
Hope you better, Jamie.
Yes, he's feeling much better. Jamie's actually one of the guys that I coach, and I love that he sent this question in because it speaks to, I like it when someone else is saying, look, use my experience to help guide your experience as well. And everybody's been through this who wants to go and do well at a race. If you feel some kind of cold or sniffle possibly coming on, it's really hard to know what to do, isn't it? It's really hard to know whether you should rest up a bit or whether you should just kind of, in inverted commas, man up and carry on and grind the training out. So in Jamie's case, he had the sniffles for 3 days. He went and did a hard swim set, a cold run in the night, and then a hard turbo session as well, and then was absolutely wrecked for 3 days, completely ill and sick. And so what I'll say is, first up, don't beat yourself up if you find yourself in this situation, because I think everybody's got to do this at least once in their athletic career to realise that you can't train your way through an illness. So be kind to yourself first and just accept you were doing it for the right reason. You wanted to get fit and you wanted to be strong for your upcoming race. But I think the thing you then have to do is say, for the future, I've learned my lesson, and I know that you can't get fit and get well at the same time. Your body needs its energies to get well and to regenerate, and it can't make you fitter. And operating at, threshold type intensities, it's just not going to help. It's actually going to hinder you, and it's going to mean that your recovery from the illness is much, much slower. And it can, in some extreme circumstances, go on to become a very serious illness if you try and train with it. So I'm a really big fan of resting up early if you get sick. And I know some people will say, well, I constantly feel like I'm getting a cold. That can be a signal from your body as well, that you need to sit down and have a little chat with yourself and work out whether you really are balancing your training on a day-to-day basis in a way that allows you to bounce back. Because I would suggest that if you constantly feel as though you're on the way with an illness, then that's not the way, that's not the sort of an ongoing situation you're constantly going to be able to manage effectively. Yeah. So take that rest early, accept that going to bed is what's going to get you to race day. Although it doesn't feel like it at the time, it's what's going to get you to race day in the best shape. Rest up And then if you get the chance to do a little bit of training before the race again, great. It's much better to do that than to try and continue with the training when you're getting sick and have that illness last for 2 or 3 times longer.
I remember, Rob, it would have been a couple of years ago when I just felt really, really rough. And I do remember getting on the bike thinking, oh, it's okay. I'm going really, really easy, but still easy when you're ill. Still didn't make me feel better. It made me worse.
Yeah,
and it
totally.
just makes the illness last longer. So I think if you listen to your body, be brave, take that rest, and know that in the long run, it's really, 2 days out rather than
2 weeks out.
A week out. Exactly.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, that's no bad thing.
Yeah. I think the thing to remember is, although it doesn't feel like it, most athletes are living in a state of perpetual overstretchedness in terms of both the volume of training that they're doing and the volume of work, family, whatever else, stress in the life. It's not a bad idea that if you're in doubt, you take a rest day or a recovery day. Just have that as your default. If in doubt, should I or should I not, take the rest day, because in the vast majority of cases, your body's going to recover and you'll go better on race day for the extra rest rather than the extra training. I think that's what I would go with. Yeah, so cool. You can have a click on the link in the show notes from today and have a read about Team Oxygenaddict if you're interested in being helped out with your triathlon training plan. But otherwise, we can jump forward, Hells, into our interview of the week this week, which is going to be with Outlaw winner Simone Mitchell. We're going to have a shout out to our sponsors, Food Cell. Before we go into this section, Food Cell is the best top tube nutritional carrier around, in my humble opinion, because you can get stuff into it and out of it with one hand as you're riding. And Food Cell are also sponsoring the Outlaw, which is the race that Simone won last year. So if you buy a Food Cell from foodcell.co.uk before the 1st of May 2019, you're going to get a chance to win a free entry into the full Outlaw Nottingham race. Okay, so read all the terms and conditions. You've got to check a box at checkout when you buy your Food Cell. There's all kinds of legal stuff about you'd have to have a race this year and you can't give the race entry to somebody else. So read the terms and conditions. But in my opinion, it's the best top tube nutritional carrier out there. It's really cool to be able to get stuff out with one hand and not feel as though you're going to fall into the oncoming traffic. That's a win for me, Hells.
Definitely.
All right, so here's this week's interview of the week with Outlaw winner and course record holder Simone Mitchell. Simone, welcome to the show. Thanks very much for joining us. How are you doing this beautiful sunny day?
I am very good. Thanks for having me. It was lovely to be on. So yeah, really happy to be on the show.
Well, it's great to get you on. We've had quite a lot of requests actually. We've got a lot of stuff going on with the Outlaw this year. Obviously, your performance at the Outlaw last year was pretty phenomenal, if you don't mind me saying. So we'd get you on for the full-on interview. For people who don't know, go over what your performance was there, please.
So the Outlaw, I did, time-wise, I did 9 hours 15. And I think my splits were 56 minutes for the swim.
Yeah.
5:0, I think it was 5:04, 5:05 for the bike, and a 3:05, I think, marathon.
That's just incredible. Congratulations. It's the first thing we've got to say.
I think my transitions were really long, though. I think my transitions both together was like 10 minutes. Because it was
miles, isn't it? And it was freezing as well. I mean, as we'll come to later, I've got some questions to ask you later on from people who've sent them in from Facebook about the way you dealt with conditions on the day. But first, did that performance surprise you how quick you went? Because that's like a world-class IM distance time on a course that is not regarded as, it's not Ironman Austria, it's not Roth, it's not a lightning fast course at all. So were you surprised by how fast you went?
I think I kind of knew that speed was there. What surprised me the most is that I actually did that race off the back of a really big training block. So I was actually really, even though I was signed up for it, I was really unsure as to whether or not I was going to race it. I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to race it. Initially, my coach wanted to put me in just as basically as training. So yeah, I think when I got out there, I actually stood on the line and I just thought to myself, it's just a training day, just do what you do in training and just, see what happens. So the fact that I, did those times off the back of the training that I was doing, that's what really surprised me. And I think that without question gave me a lot of confidence. And coming off the back of that race, I was really excited for Kona. And I knew what I wanted in my head for Kona, and it kind of made me think actually going in fresh to Kona that I could maybe do it. So I was really happy with that performance.
I remember I was doing the relay that day. I was out on the run leg doing the relay, and you came flying by me on the run, looking like the Terminator. And I gave you a clap and said, well done, because it was obvious you were moving so much quicker than when I was out there. And you were just completely in the zone on the run. Were you aware of anything else that was going on out there on the day?
Do you know what? I actually really enjoyed that run. I'll be honest with you, when I first started the run, I was hoping to go near 3 hours. So I was thinking maybe it's like 3:02, 3:01, 3:02. I did slow down actually a bit towards the end. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it more because my family, so my parents, like my mum, my dad, they've only ever seen me in one of the race, and that was when my first ever triathlon, which was in Ironman Bolton. So actually just having them there and then being on the course, it was just nice to then, seeing what I did, because before that, my dad used to call it a heptathlon, not a triathlon.
Nice.
So it's just nice for them to kind of see what, all the hard work that I've been putting into, what it was about and how much I've improved. And yeah, so I think that for me, having them on the course on the run was just brilliant.
So hang on, back up a minute there. You just said your first ever triathlon was Bolton.
Yeah.
That's fairly hardcore, Simone, right from the start, isn't it?
I know. Do you know what? That's actually the reason why I got into it, though. I didn't really want to do a triathlon. I was watching YouTube videos of that Rick and Dick Hoyt.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking, oh my God, look at that. I'd love to do something like that. And at the time, I was living in London as a personal trainer, and it was a toss between doing an Ironman or doing bodybuilding,
right, okay,
fitness competing. And I mentioned it to one of the guys I was working with, and he was like, no, you need to do an Ironman. So that's how I actually did it. That's how I got into it. I just put all my money in and bought my entry fee to Bolton. And yeah, it just kind of went from there, really.
And what year was that?
So that was in 2012.
Okay, so a bit of Olympic inspiration. 2012, you enter in Bolton. How did you get on in Bolton then?
So that's what did I? I think I did 11. I did under 12 hours. I think it was 11:57.
Wow. So right there, that gives us some kind of idea of the progression that's happened over the past sort of 6 or 7 years, doesn't it? From just under 12 hours to down there poking 9 hours in the eye is an amazing sort of progression in the sport. But first up, living in London, it's not particularly easy to do the kind of training you need to do to compete in an Ironman anyway, is it? It's hardly as though it's conducive to decent cycling conditions down that way a lot of the time. How did you go about training for it then?
So I did a lot of my training indoors. So I did a lot of my bike sessions on a watt bike.
Okay.
Just in the gym. And so in 2012, I hadn't swam and I hadn't biked before. So I actually learned how to swim in January, and I learned, basically I borrowed a bike off of my boss, which in the gym, and he basically told me to get out and commute just to kind of learn a little bit of handling skills.
Okay.
And then I did all my fitness lies in my fitness training on the bike in the gym, so just on a watt bike. And I actually did that for a few years, to be fair.
Most of your work was done indoors on the watt bike, and then a kind of learning curve on the outdoors bike.
Yeah, so all the commuting was giving me my bike handling skills, which is not bad actually, because it teaches you a lot in London.
Yeah, I bet it does. Avoid those potholes, right?
And car doors.
Yeah. So 2012, you raced Bolton. Is that where you qualified for Kona the first time out? Did you then?
I did, yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? I actually didn't even know anything about in terms of the qualification bit. My coach at the time, Julian Nagy, he was quite, he didn't really mention anything about it. And just as I passed the line, or just coming up to the finish line, he like shouted at me, "You've just qualified for Hawaii." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "You just qualified for Hawaii." And then afterwards, and then I realized it was only like 3 months away. And I was like, "Oh my God, so I've got to do this again."
So tell us how the race went out in Hawaii that first time, please.
So it was 3 months later. So I think I took like 2.5 weeks off, and then I got back into it, and I did Hawaii in 10:57. So I knocked an hour off. Time.
That in itself is amazing, isn't it?
I think I knocked an hour off the bike, because I think my bike, I think it was an hour I knocked off the bike in total. I don't think my swim was that much different. Yeah. And my run was something around 3:46, 3:47 time.
Okay.
So it was the bike mainly that's why I kind of gained the time on that.
And what sort of swimmer were you when you first kicked off then? You said you learned to swim, and I think a lot of people listening to this, that this is going to be resonating with them, the complete sort of zero to hero aspect of your story. What were you like when you first got in the pool, and how did that translate through to managing to complete 3.8k, let alone going to Kona?
So when I first got in the pool, so after actually signing up for Bolton, I went to the pool up in Finchley where I was living in London, and I can remember like swimming one length and being like, "Oh my God." I literally did one length, and then I was trying to work out in my head how many lengths was like 3.8k.
Oh yeah, don't do that. Don't do that yet.
And do you know what? I actually felt like crying. Like I seriously was thinking, I've just spent £400 entering this race. Yeah. I can't even swim one length. And actually, I think that's when it really hit me. And I was thinking, you either need to find somebody to help you, or I wasn't going to be able to do it. And luckily, right at the beginning, I had a friend who put me in contact with Julian, as he was initially like a swim coach.
Yeah.
And he basically got me in the pool, and he was like, I've actually got videos of like my first ever swim session with him. And he says, right, let's see how you go, and let's see how long it takes you to do 400 meters. And I think I did it in 9:58, so just under 10 minutes.
Okay.
And it was horrible.
So you really were a beginner swimmer, weren't you, when you kicked off? That's very impressive to get down from that sort of swimming to down into the mid-50s in a sort of a 6-year time period. How much time have you spent in the pool then over this time? What would your weekly routine look like in terms of, obviously you got yourself to Kona first time out, so there's some natural talent there, but how did you progress over that first year, and how often were you doing swim, bike and run?
So I was in the pool about initially 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure in terms of what distance I was doing. But I think out of everything, even up to this day, the swimming has been my most consistent, because injuries that I've picked up in the past, it's always allowed me to carry on swimming.
Yeah.
But I think definitely 4 times a week swimming, the biking, even up until really like my injury this year, I've only really ever done 3 to 4 bike sessions a week. And then the running was very, very low initially. I'd always just do 3 runs, which seems actually really, really low. Then, I mean, I'd obviously picked up the run training more towards about the last 2 years. But yeah, so I didn't actually do that much training. I think even up until Hawaii that first year, the most training I ever did was like 12 hours.
Okay.
13 hours, I think, max. So it wasn't actually that much training.
And was there a point where you had a kind of, like, either you or someone around you had a bit of a light bulb moment and went, do you know what? You're doing pretty well at this for a complete beginner who's completed the first Ironman, won the age group at Bolton, gone to Hawaii. Did you have a moment where you thought, I'm actually pretty good at this? Or was it more a case of, I mean, you must just have fallen in love with swimming to have stuck it out 4 times a week, year in, year out?
Do you know what? I think it was when I was in Hawaii and I placed, I think it was 5th in my age group.
Yeah.
I did think, God, like, I've actually only been doing this since January. And I think that kind of made me realise. And to be truthful, I think because it was swim, bike and run, I've always loved I've always done lots of different types of training. I've always done everything from, playing netball, hockey to CrossFit. I've just loved training in general. And that's why I also chose it as a career in terms of training other people. But I think that's what I fell in love with the most. Like, you have that variety, you know, there's lots to do, there's lots to work on. And I just didn't get bored of it. So after Hawaii, especially coming fifth, I was thinking, yeah, I'd love to come back again and just kind of see where I could get. And I think, you know, going to Hawaii, I think everybody always has the dream of winning their age group. Even now, even all this time, I still haven't done it. And I think that's one thing that really, I think that's always been also the decision why I've never really wanted initially to race pro until I'd won my age group in Hawaii.
Okay. Yeah. I can relate to that. And then you went to Kona again in 2014. Is that right? I did, yes. And you placed second in the age group behind a certain Jocelyn McCauley.
Do you know what? Honestly, she ran past me so effortlessly.
Really?
She was eating a bar and I was nearly being sick and she was just like cruising. And I can remember looking at her thinking, right, that's what I need to do. I need to be able to run like that, and if I want to win it. And actually, ever since 2014, that was a goal for me. I thought, right, I'm really going to work on my running, because I felt that I'd got stronger on the bike. I felt that my swimming was coming on, but my running was always the one thing that I always lacked in confidence with. So I'd always had it in my head, even after, I had knee surgery actually after that race, but it was always in my head that that's what I really wanted to work on. And I think over the last 2 years, it's something that I have focused on, and that's one thing that I'm really proud of, is the fact that I have been able to kind of tap into that speed and get the run times down. So yeah, thanks to Jocelyn, she's helped me.
And then in 2017, you managed to go out and win the overall age group title at the 70.3 World Champs. Was that the year it was in Chattanooga?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And that was a tough old course, wasn't it? It was honest on both the bike and the run, from what my athletes told me.
It was a bit of a shock.
Yeah. I remember getting a call from one of my guys and he was going, dude, this run course hasn't got any flat on it. It's just up and down the whole way.
It was crazy, yeah. But it's actually that was one of my favourite courses. I did really the only thing that I got nervous about that race is I found out that it was a dive start. Okay. And that's the one thing I hadn't practiced. Even to this day, which is really embarrassing to say, but I cannot dive to save my life. So I was really nervous at the beginning. I was thinking, oh my God, do I dive in or do I just jump in? I actually jumped in.
Good for you. Every time I try, my goggles come off. I don't know what I do wrong to this day. Some coach.
Oh, no, it's bad, isn't it? I'm the same.
So we've got the overall 70.3 World Championship title for overall age group there, and then the next big thing that's come up on the radar is your performance at Ironman Lanzarote 2018. At this point, still racing as an age grouper as well.
Yes.
Where you finished second overall, and you split. Let me get this right. It was Lucy won it, didn't she? Was Michelle Vesterby third that year?
Yes, she was. Yeah.
So tell us about that then. How was that for you as going in as an age grouper and performing like that in Lanzarote?
I chose Lanzarote actually because I loved Chattanooga and I loved that it was an honest course, and I wanted to get back into the long course stuff. I chose Lanzarote because the course scared me. Every time I thought about doing Lanzarote, I'd get like gut wrench in my stomach and I'd be like, oh God, it was the challenge that I really wanted. Yeah. The goal going into Lanzarote was to win my age group because I wanted to qualify for Kona. But it was only when I got onto I think I was like maybe 20k from the end of the bike that I could start to see some of the pros in front of me, and I was on the way back. So you kind of like cross each other. Yeah. I was like, ooh, I wonder if I can catch them on the run. And then, so it was do you know what? It was actually a really nice race. And I loved the race because it gave a different dynamic to the type of racing that I'd done in triathlon before. Because as an age group, you don't really know where you stand. Yeah. So when I was on the course, people was like, oh, they was giving me splits. And there was like, oh, you know, you're in third, like Vesterby is 2 minutes in front of you. And so that I was just like, oh God, like I really like this. And it was exciting, and it does, you know, and of course it does spur you on, and it gives you, I think it gave me a little bit more energy for sure. So yeah, it was definitely a different type of race for me, because I kind of, came away with actually knowing what it would be like to race with the pros are kind of up the front. So yeah, it was good, and I loved it, and I just loved the course. I loved the bike, and I loved the run.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah.
Well, I mean, we can hear the passion in your voice here, the idea of racing people head to head, and obviously taking down a lot of the pros. In fact, all of them apart from Lucy Gossage. The obvious question that I'm sure you get asked billions of times, and I'm going to ask it anyway, is what are your thoughts on turning pro, and is it on the horizon for you?
Well, Rob, you are going to be officially the first person to know that I am going to race pro this year.
Really? We get the scoop?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and I have.
Awesome.
I've decided to bite the bullet and do it. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really, really excited.
Well, talk us through what goes on in your head in terms of, obviously you've had these amazing performances already, and the standard of your racing, there's no question that you're up there ready to compete for the win in a lot of these races. But what goes through a person's head when they're weighing up, you know, the fact you built a very successful career as a personal trainer and strength and conditioning coach, weighing that up against what extra do you have to put in racing now? How does that process work for you?
I definitely feel in terms of training that I don't think I would change anything in particular. I think it's just more recovery.
Yeah.
And it's something that I hadn't really been able to get much of before. And being a trainer, you know, you're on your feet, you're training people, you're one-to-one, you know, you don't really get that respite. So in terms of my outlook this year, nothing really would change apart from, you know, just being able to get a little bit more recovery in. And also, you know, I've been away training maybe like for a week, but I've never actually been on any camps and actually really focused on putting in like big blocks. So that's a big goal for me this year. I'm actually going to go away for 3 weeks at the end of April to mid-May and again in June. So I'm really excited to see what that would do, because I've never really been able to have that full concentration. Even coming up into races, actually, the past few races that I've had, I've either been moving house or even after Chattanooga, I was getting married in Spain 3 days after. And so I've always felt like I've had lots to concentrate on and not purely just focus on, you know, getting in the training blocks and, you know, racing. So
yeah.
Just having a little bit more focus and concentration on it, I think ultimately that's what's going to be the biggest difference, I think, going forward, hopefully.
And in terms of the professional getting paid aspect of being a pro triathlete, how are you finding the sort of the day-to-day finding sponsors who are willing to sort of fund the training?
Do you know, I think you know, by no means it is pretty difficult. I've been very lucky that over the last few years as an age group athlete, I've kind of built relationships up with the sponsors that I've got now, and who are really excited that I'm going to turn pro this year. So I've got the backing of the sponsors that I've had over the last few years, which has been absolutely great. You know, I've worked with SIS, Colinago, who I've had now for the last 2 years, which has been absolutely amazing. I'm currently working this year with RYD, so Ride Your Dreams.
Okay.
So they're going to do my tri-suit and cycling gear, which will be really good because I've only tried their stuff this year and I really like it. So yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, it is pretty difficult. Over the last year and a half, I've had to work really hard to put myself in a position financially to be able to kind of take the time off work. So it's not purely based on the fact that I've got money from sponsors, but it's also over the last year and a half, you know, I've kind of put myself in the position to be able to kind of back off work a little bit.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm hoping that with a few, hopefully, if I can get some results, then I'll be able to get a little bit more money from sponsors, which would be nice.
It's always good to get paid, isn't it?
I know, it is, isn't it? Just got to work a little bit harder.
Have you got any plans in the pipeline for, I mean, I know one of the things that our listeners are often rabid about is how do we find out more about the athletes that are out there, what's going on with them, blogging, and, you know, any athletes that are doing anything on social media or YouTube and things like that. They just love the glimpse into the lifestyle. So do you have plans for anything like that?
I do, yeah. So as of next week, I will have my new website, which will be going live, and I'm actually going to be vlogging my first year as a pro. So in conjunction with SIS, yeah. So we're going to be uploading videos on there, and not just not even just from a pro perspective, but with me also being a strength and conditioning coach, we'll put in lots of training videos on there, basically top tips. I'll also hopefully get to speak to people who inspire me, people who motivate me, do interviews with them. I just think it'll be a really great insight as well for people to see. And, I just think, I'm always a researcher, and I love to watch what other people do and love to learn from other people. So I just, I really want to kind of give back, and just hopefully people can learn from things if I do them right, or they can learn from my mistakes if I do them wrong.
Brilliant.
Plenty of those, to be fair.
I think it's a great idea. I think everyone's loved watching Lionel Sanders do his pretty much weekly video blogs, and it's a great way. And I know a lot of my athletes say they just stick him on when they're doing the training, with him on one screen and Zwift on another. So it's another form of motivation. So I think it's a really smart move on your part. Now then, talking about people with questions, we had some questions coming from listeners, so we're going to do a quick fire answer round with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so Joanna Walsh says, have you got any tips for dealing with chafing on the bike?
Oh, okay. This is quite big for me, because I've had quite a lot of problems getting comfortable on my saddle.
Okay.
And last year I went to see a guy called Phil Burt, who was based in, have you heard of Phil?
Yeah, he's up in Manchester, isn't he?
Yes, I actually went to see him because I was really, Lanzarote in particular, the whole bike, I really, really struggled there.
Okay.
And interestingly, one of the things that we came away with, because basically what Phil does is he measures the pressure points on the saddle. Yeah. Kind of see where or how, if you're loading on one side more than the other, and just basically trying to come up with the reason as to why you're getting those chafing errors. So he noticed for myself that I was actually too low on my saddle. So I was actually put low in my saddle height was really low for my position, so like an aero position. But I just couldn't get comfortable on the saddle. So he actually put my saddle height up, which helped massively. And since he kind of put me into more of a comfortable position, I'm not quite sure if it's as aerodynamic as it probably should be, but I think at the moment, I think that's helped me massively. Yeah. So I think in terms of, it could be position, also finding a pair of shorts, obviously, that fit you. I always found that when I was on my TT bike, when you're a little bit further forward onto the saddle, there was not enough padding in some particular shorts that I was wearing. So just getting a pair of shorts where the padding is in the right area for you, I think can help massively.
Good. Okay, cool. Now, David Irwin says, how did you cope with the outlaw weather conditions last year on the bike? And second part, how do you avoid punctures?
Okay, so let's answer the first question.
Talk about the conditions first for people who don't know what it was like, because it was pretty biblical, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? I didn't mind them, and I mean that, and I genuinely mean that. I love running in the rain. I don't mind cycling in the rain at all, which is rich coming from me. But I tend to do a lot of my bikes indoors. But I didn't mind it. I think I was very much, I was following my plan in terms of what I wanted to push. And I was just kind of a little bit in the zone. I did put a ghillie on, and I had arm warmers on, which helped a lot. But in terms of I actually felt sorry for people that were standing around, because it looked absolutely soaking, but at least I was moving, and I was warm. I didn't feel cold.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't particularly mind it, to be fair. I was okay there.
And you had no puncture problems either. So the gods smiled on you that day. Yeah,
do you know what? I'm pretty useless with bike mechanics, and my husband would be very happy to know that. I'll give him a shout out to this, because he's my little bike person.
Puncture fairy.
I was going to say a different word then, but I'm not quite sure.
It's a family show.
Yeah, so he's like my little bike fairy. So he does a good job with the tires and stuff. So yeah, so far, touch woods, it didn't happen.
Right, Shane Davis says, what's your best outlaw race day tips for that course? You got any words of wisdom you can share there?
What is my tips? I would say, I know this is a bit cliche, but just enjoy it. I actually went into that race thinking, oh God, like I'm really tired. And I just thought, you know what, just, you're going to swim, you're going to bike, you're going to run, just enjoy it. The one thing that I would say actually is, which I always find really helpful, is that when I'm on the bike, I always set my timer to eat and drink, and I always look forward to my food.
Nice.
So no, I think just enjoy it, I think would be the tip.
Enjoy it and remember to eat. That's two simple but very wise tips, I think. I like those.
Well, I think when you're hungry, you're a bit miserable. So if you keep yourself full,
that's right. Full tummy's a happy tummy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, question here from one of your competitors, Ruth Purbrook.
Hi, Ruth.
She says, ooh, looking forward to this one. And she says, we've answered a couple of these already, but she says, how have you kept yourself motivated through various injuries? And do you have any tips on coming back from injury?
Do you know what my biggest tip will be? And this is one thing that I've learned, not from this injury, but my last injury. So I actually had knee surgery in 2015, and that put me out from Kona, which was October 2014. And I didn't get back running until August 2015. And whilst I was injured that time, I was so angry and so frustrated, and mentally that injury really nearly broke me, because I was so down all the time. I couldn't find a way to be positive about it, because I'd just come off the back of Hawaii, placing second in my age group. Felt like I had a great race, and I was just like, why has this happened to me? And I got really down about that. I was really controlling with my eating. So obviously I didn't want to put on any weight, and I got a little bit funny with that. And whereas this injury, I've had the complete opposite overlook. So from when I found out that I couldn't race Hawaii, for the first day initially I was really upset, and actually then I felt really, really calm. And I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm not going to get myself back into that headspace, because I'd already been there. I knew how long it took me to get out, and I got myself into a bit of a hole. So throughout this whole injury, even I think it's been like 6 months, I've actually felt really happy. And I know that sounds crazy, but I increased all my calories. So I actually put on a little bit of weight this month. I think I've added like 4 kg, but focused on my food, focused on the process, focused on being healthy, enjoyed time with family, drank lots of wine, which is probably not that great. A little bit too much, to the point where after Christmas and after New Year, I was a bit like, right, you need to calm down now. This
is going to make a great vlog.
I know, yeah.
Simone cuts loose over Christmas.
I tell you, honestly, it's a true story. You know what? Everybody's going to get injured, and I've had my fair share of injuries, but don't beat yourself up about them. Like, you're going to get them. And, in my head, I was just always thinking throughout, the last couple of months, and even watching people race, is, if you can handle this and just go about your day, do what you've got to do the rehab process, if you can stay mentally strong when you know how much it's got to you before, just look how strongly you're going to come out the other end. And actually getting back into it, I only started training really second week of January. I was on crutches all of basically. So I was in a cast, non-weight bearing for 8 weeks. And then I tried to get back into it and walk, and then it just flared up again. So then I went on crutches again for 2 weeks in November, and it kept on having like a massive reaction again. I couldn't even walk. It kept on swelling up. So I put myself back on crutches, which the consultant said, fine, carry on. But I just knew deep down, I was like, no, it's not healing. So I put myself back on crutches all of December, and then really slowly started getting back into it in January. But actually, because I felt happy in myself, and because I didn't feel that it had been such a long process, even though I couldn't do what I wanted to do, I feel that the fitness has actually come back really naturally, and I haven't had to force it. And I think I've only been on the bike properly for 7 weeks, 8 weeks, and my numbers are virtually exactly the same. In fact, I actually feel stronger. And so I'd say just try and stay as relaxed as possible, really, because it'll only benefit you.
That is such a great tip. I see that so often with people where when they come back from an injury, I feel like it takes time to build bike fitness, but once you've built it once, that 6 to 8 week period is enough to get 99% of it back, and you can hear in your voice you feel totally confident with where your fitness is at. It's such a good thing for people listening to remember that you can go from the depths of I'm never going to be able to ride or run again to feeling like nothing ever happened in a 6 to 8 week period, as long as you stay positive about it.
I think what's actually really interesting, this is a really good tip or a good point maybe to take away, is when you're, and this is one thing that I actually really look forward to, is all of last year I really struggled because I was so uncomfortable on the saddle to really tap into my TT position. Like I'd stay down, then I'd get back up again and then down. I just couldn't lock into it at all. So when I got back on the bike in January, I was like, right, this is like the perfect time to build, because I couldn't push the watts at all because my foot just wouldn't, I kept on getting a flare back from it. So it was a really, really good time. And actually it really excited me because I was like, right, if you can start off really slow, really tune into your position and just get so comfortable in it. And now, I feel so much more like I don't even come out of my TT position. I feel more comfortable now in my position than what I've ever done. So if you're starting back off slow, there are so many positives, really is, that you can really work on.
It reminds me of when we had Matt Botterill on, and he said, like, the first thing to take away from a bike fit is the bike fit's only good if you can actually ride in that position for any period of time. And, people look at him and go, he's got the most extreme position ever. But the reality is he can ride in that position for, whatever it is, 4 hours, 5 hours.
Yeah.
He said it's no good trying to copy what he looks like if you can't actually hold that position. So the best aero positions, it's the best one you can hold for the duration rather than what looks best in the mirror, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you just got to be comfortable with it.
Yeah, very much. All right, one last one here from Andrew Rudder. He says, I'm going to read this out, actually. It's a great paragraph, this. How did it feel when you caught Michelle Vesterby to be second at Ironman Lanzarote? You almost looked apologetic as you passed her on the run. I would consider it to be even more prestigious than your course-breaking Outlaw win. Do you feel, without the injury, you could have upset the pros in Kona last year?
Do you know what? When I actually overtook Michelle, I was kind of like, I was in my pace and I was in the running zone, and I ran past her and I was like, oh, bugger, like, because I hate that. Like, if somebody runs past you, it's always nice for somebody to say, oh, well done, or, and everyone, even, other runners that was on the course, I'd kind of just, if I see them struggling, I'd be like, oh, well done, keep it going, or, give them a little pat on the back. So then when I ran past her, I was like, oh, like, I kind of turned around to say hi. And then on the video, it actually looks like I'm saying bye to her. And I was like, because even my coach was like, did you just say goodbye? And I was like, no, I said hello. Like, it looks really bad. I actually went up to Hafton and I was like, oh, by the way, I did say hi, I wasn't being rude. But yeah.
Crusher. You're like that guy from the Karate Kid.
Oh, God, I know. Bloody hell.
Oh, bless. Oh, well, hopefully she won't be too upset about it.
Yeah, no, not at all. She was absolutely lovely. She came up to me after the race and she was like really apologetic. She's like, oh, I'm really sorry you don't get to win the prize money. And I was like, oh, really? Give me some. I didn't do that. I was like, oh, no, it's fine. I just came here to qualify.
This year there'll be plenty of prize money going your way, I'm sure.
How gutting. I mean, those conditions in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have loved to have been there.
Listen, one final question then. I want to ask you this. Obviously, Lucy Charles Barclay, she is now, is the big British name on the Ironman scene, and she came to prominence. She won her age group in Bolton, I think the same year that you did. So how much of an inspiration do you take from what she's done over the last couple of years?
Oh, God, that girl is just something else, isn't she? I absolutely love her. I think she's such an inspiration in the sport. I think she is raising everybody's game. I think she's raising Daniela Reese's game, I think she's just pushing the boundaries and she's pushing everybody, and I think she's just great. And I think, if only I had the swimming ability. I think she's absolutely awesome. She's definitely somebody I look to. I mean, she's just got it all, hasn't she? She's just got she's got the personality, she's got, she's a pretty girl, she's got the talent, she's got the hard work. I think she's just got the full package. She's a lot of superstar, I think, in my eyes anyway.
Yeah. And do you think you can follow in her, not in her footsteps, but I often think you get batches of athletes coming along from the same kind of background at once and from the same country, and people can kind of go, well, if Johnny and Ali can do it, then I can do it. If Lucy Charles can do it, then I can do it. So
yeah,
is there an element of that in your brain thinking, well, why not?
Do you know the one thing that she has given me is that when she turned pro, she also had a stress fracture.
Yes.
So she came back. So she literally turned pro, and I think she had like all year out. So for me, that gives me a lot of confidence, because I feel like I'm starting at the bottom again. I'm not just competing against, age group athletes. I'm going to be on the start line with, some of the best athletes in the world. And that itself is quite daunting when you're at full fitness. So it does give me a lot of confidence, because I actually read one of her blogs, and she did say, that it was very, very difficult for her. And I think there was a lot of people that maybe doubted her because of it. So yeah, I just think coming back from this injury, I just feel like, if she can kind of, she started off with the fracture, and the same for me. Like, I'm not exactly in the greatest position to start off racing pro, but, I just think for me, I look at that and that gives me a lot of confidence. So yeah.
Great stuff. Hey, well, listen, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. We're really looking forward to watching your progression this year and watching your vlogs as they come out. What's the new web address going to be? Do you know yet?
It is going to be, with all the W's in front, .simonemitchell.co.uk.
Great. Well, we'll
so,
send our listeners over that way.
Tab at the bottom, and it'll have, so the YouTube channel will be live hopefully from next week. The videos are getting edited from some of the talks and some of the trip that I've just been on to Mallorca for Hoka. And hopefully you'll learn from all the little mistakes I'm going to be making. Maybe.
Well, we'll get those links in the show notes so people can go over and check it out. But listen, thank you again so much. And we wish you all the best with your journey to becoming a pro triathlete. And we hope we can get you back on the show to hear about it later on in the year.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been really nice, Rob. Thanks very much.
Good stuff there. Great to hear some of those listeners' questions getting sent through as well and answered by Simone. Hope Definitely. We can see her back in full form later in the year and over those injuries and ready to go full gas again.
I hope so. It was so impressive because we were there last year watching the Outlaw and doing the relay, and it was amazing to see her just flying, wasn't she? She was
like another species. She came past in the other direction with her mirrored sunglasses on. Now she looks like she's running like a completely fresh marathon. It was amazing.
Yeah. It was really cool to see her in action, and just then, I mean, I think hearing that interview there, she's such a sort of bubbly, interesting person. And I remember after the race, and I grabbed a short interview with her last year, and I thought, she'll be really good to do a longer interview with. So it's great to have had the time to do that.
Yeah, and great to see that she'll be racing pro this year as well. So it'd be good to see her toeing the line against all the people she really wants to race this year as well. Okay, so we've got a few bits of news from around the world. Sponsored by Tribe.co. Hells, I stuffed one of their chocolate salted caramel infinity bars into my face post a surfing session last week, and I've got to say it hit the spot perfectly.
Similarly, I had a chocolate brownie protein bar.
Good, aren't they?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think when I had it, but it was absolutely when I needed it. I think it was just delicious, and I was like, oh, that really hit the spot. So yeah, there's a really, really good offer that you can get 6 sort of energy bars, protein bars, and protein shakes for just £1, including postage and packaging. It's a trial pack. If you head to wearetribe.co/oxygenaddict, and then you use the code TRIBEOxygenaddict. So yeah, That's cool. Both rate the bars very highly.
Yeah, delicious, animal-free, vegan, yummy goodness. All really, really good. All right, so first up that we saw in the news this week, they've had the announcement for the winners of the Zwift Academy 2019, and there's a couple of Brits in there as well, aren't there?
Yeah, there are. So Paul Lunn, who was 5th in 2017, 3rd in 2018 in his age group at the Kona World Championships, is in that team, along with Ruth Purbrook, who had a brilliant race at Kona in 2018. She got a bowl.
She was second, wasn't she, I think? Or did she win her age group in second overall?
She won it in 20. So she won the 25 to 29 category last year.
Yeah, but she was second age group overall. That's right, isn't
Correct.
it?
Yes.
Yeah, good. So it'd be interesting to see. They get all kinds of good stuff. I think they get a specialised shiv, and they get all kinds of other stuff from Roker and Science in Sport as well. So maybe that'll be the thing that finally can just give them that extra percent to get the win in the age group, or the overall win in Ruth's case at Kona for next year. Pretty cool program, hey?
I think it's I think it's a brilliant scheme, the Specialised Zwift Academy, because yes, you've got all those amazing sponsors that you've just mentioned in Wahoo Fitness and things, but also the fact that, you know, Tim Don or Sarah True sort of give you a phone call and say, hey, welcome aboard the team. Like, i.e., you know, you've got some pretty special people around you as well. And then obviously you've got the teammates who are some are from America, Australia, South Africa, Germany, Canada, the UK, clearly. And I mean, yeah, what an inspiring bunch of people around the world.
It's all good, isn't it? It is all good. And one last final piece of news. Hells, tell us about the Smart Financial Canute Duathlons, please.
So these are kids' races that we are organising this summer. So previously, Rob, we have just done a race in Knutsford, and it's for primary kids and year 7. And we have different age groups racing, and it's all about the kids on that day, and it's amazing. This year, we are going to be doing 3. So there's one in Lim on the 12th of May. Then we're going to do one in Wrexham on June the 30th. And then the sort of finale is going to be in Knutsford on July the 7th. So all for kids, little duathlon races and fun runs as well. If you want to enter, or if you want to find out more information, then head to www.canuteduathlon.com.
Sounds
find out all the information there. They're really cool days, and the kids seem to love them. So yeah, get on it, get involved, and thanks to Smart Financial.
I'm getting on it straight after this, Hells. I'm going to get my little dude entered. He's really up for it. We'll be there at the Lim race. Yeah, he's definitely going to be coming down and racing that one.
Brilliant. Get them on it. It's primary school and year 7.
Love it. Good stuff. And that brings us to the end of this week's show. So thanks for listening, everybody. Remember, you can go over and check out our sponsors to give them a bit of love for supporting the show. We've got precisionhydration.com. Use the code Oxygenaddict. Foodsell.co.uk. Use the code FreePost for free worldwide delivery. And wearetribe.co/Oxygenaddict and use the code TRIBEOxygenaddict to get a 6-pack for just £1, including postage and packaging. All right, we'll be back next week. Hells, who's our interview with next week, please?
Next week, TBC, Rob.
TBC. Love it. Watch this space, everybody.
Watch this space. There's potentially Sam Pichter and Sam Proctor. I spoke to them both at the same time last week and get them to interview each other, which is a good giggle. So it might be that, or there might be a little special from something I'm going to this weekend. TBC.
Oh, exciting stuff. All right, everybody, we'll find out, as I hope to soon, what we're going to be releasing next week. Until next week, I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And you've been listening to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. Whatever you do, guys, have a great, exciting training and racing week, and we will speak to you again next week. Thanks, everyone. See ya.